Welcome to another video on Aisha's Academy, and today we're going to go through simple interest versus compound interest. So let's go. So firstly, interest is basically money that's added on every year. So there's two types. The first type is compound interest, which is interest from the previous year being added on. And then there's simple interest, which is interest from the original amount being added on. So we're going to go through examples of these. So first of all, with compound interest, let's say if you have a bank account with an interest rate of 10%, and let's say you start off with having £1,000 in this bank account. To work out how much you would have at the end of the first year, you would work out 10% of 1,000, which is 100. And so you would add 100 on to 1,000, and that would tell you that at the end of 1 year, you would have £1,100. But with compound interest, because it's to do with what was left from the previous year, you need to work out 10% of 1,100, which is 110. And so if we add that on to 1,100, we would be left with 1,210. And again, to work out how much you would have after 3 years, you now need to work out 10% of 1,210, which is 121. And so if we add that on to 1,210, at the end of 3 years, you would be left with £1,331. Whereas with simple interest, again, a simple interest bank account with a rate of 10%, just using 10% as an easy value, this is very unlikely in real life. You would start off with, well, let's say if you started off with 1,000, again, method is the same in the beginning, so you'd work out 10% of 1,000, which is 100. And so you would add 100 onto 1,000, and so after 1 year you would have £1,100. But with simple interest, because it's the interest from the original amount, you're just basically going to keep adding on 10% of the original amount, which is 100. So you're going to keep adding on 100 each time. And that's the difference between compound and simple interest. Compound is from the previous year, simple interest is just the same amount being added on each year. And so therefore, at the end of 3 years, you would be left with not 1,331, but £1,300. So let's start having a look at some examples. So example 1. So Jamie puts 1,200 in a bank account with simple interest and a simple interest rate of 4%. And we basically need to work out how much he would have at the end of 3 years. So first off, because he starts off with 1,200 and the rate is 4%, we need to work out 4% of 1,200. And for those of you that are unsure of working out percentages, a quick way of working out percentages is the amount that you have divided by 100 times by 4. So with percentages working out, you always do divide by 100 times by 4 to work out the amount. And so 4% of 1,200 is 48. And because it's simple interest, you're going to be adding £48 each year. And so we'd add 48 onto 1,200, which would leave us with 1,248. Add 48 again to see how much you would have at the end of 2 years, and that would be 1,296. And then add 48 one more time to see how much you would have at the end of 3 years. And so he would be left with £1,344. Or a quicker way of working out is, because you know simple interest is the same amount each year, and you want to work out for 3 years, you would do the interest amount, which is 48, times by 3, which is 144. Add that onto your original value, and you get the same answer. So we're going to have a look at a simple interest example again, using the shortcut method that I just showed you. So this time Sandra puts £3,000 into a saving account with an interest rate of 3%. We want to work out how much she has at the end of 4 years. So because she starts off with 3,000, first off we need to work out what 3% of 3,000 is. And as explained earlier, to work out the amount, you would have to do 3,000 divided by 100 times by 3. And so therefore the interest amount being added on each year would be £90. And because we want to work out how much she would have at the end of 4 years, we would do the interest amount times 4, which is 360. Add that onto the original amount she started off with, and that would leave her with £3,360 at the end of 4 years. So example 3. So this time we're looking at an example of compound interest. So Johnny puts £1,800 into a bank account with 5% compound interest. We want to work out how much he has at the end of 2 years. So because he starts off with £1,800, again, so 5% of 1,800. So notice that the beginning methods of both interests are the same. So again, working out the percentage is 1,800 divided by 100. And because it's 5% this time, we're going to multiply that by 5. And so the interest amount for the first year for compound interest would be £90. So if we add that onto the original value, Johnny would be left with 1,890 at the end of 1 year. But because compound interest is always the interest of the previous year, we now have to work out 5% of 1,890, which is again 1,890 divided by 100 times by 5, which would leave you with an answer of £94.50. Add that on to 1,890, and at the end of 2 years, Johnny would have £1,984.50. Or a quicker way of working it out is you can do your percentage interest rate. This is only for compound interest, by the way. Your percentage interest rate divided by 100 and plus 1. That leaves you with an answer of 1.05. And because you want to work out how much he has at the end of 2 years, you would end up doing 1.05 squared, also known as 1.05 times 1.05, times by the original amount, and you would be left with the same answer. So I'm going to show you another example using that method because I know it's confusing sometimes for people. So with this question, it's comparing two banks. You've got International Bank and Friendly Bank, and we need to decide which bank would Viv earn more money in. Very common examples for exams, by the way. So if we start off with International Bank, the rate for the first year is 4%. So because it's compound interest, if we do 4 divided by 100 plus 1, so this is a shortcut, we have 1.04. So at the end of the first year, because she starts off with 2,000, multiply that by 1.04 and she has 2,080. And because the second year is a different rate, you now have to work out 1 divided by 100 plus 1, which would be 1.01. And because it's compound interest, we have to do 2,080 times 1.01, which would leave you an answer of 2,180 pence. Whereas with Friendly Bank, for the first year, the rate is 5%, and again, it's compound interest. So shortcut method, we can do 5 divided by 100 plus 1, which would leave you with 1.05. Multiply the original value, which is 2,000, by 1.05, you're left with 2,100. For the second year, it's 0.5%, so we need to do 0.5 divided by 100. Add 1, which would leave you with 1.005. Multiply that to 2,100 because it's compound interest, what you're left with from the previous year. And she would have £2,110.50. So because Friendly Bank is more, she should invest in Friendly Bank. And the last example, example 5, is a question to do with depreciation, which they like to include with this topic as well. So depreciation is the opposite of compound interest. It means it's going down. So you need to work out how many number of years the car will depreciate by a value of 47%. So we'd have to do 100, take away 47, which is 53. Because it depreciates by 9% each year, we have to do 53 divided by 9 to work out roughly how many years that would be. Because we've got 5.89, that would be roughly 6 years. So I hope that helped. Please watch it again or comment down below if you still have any questions, especially with the compound interest shortcut and the depreciation questions. But most importantly, if you did enjoy this video, please do comment, like and subscribe. Share it with any friends that would find it useful.